Give ear, O my people, to my law. Incline your ears to the words of my mouth. I will open my mouth in a parable. I will utter dark sayings of old, which we have heard and known, and our fathers have told us. We will not hide them from their children, telling to the generation to come the praises of the Lord and His strength, and His wondrous works that He has done. For He established a testimony in Jacob, and appointed a law in Israel, which He commanded our fathers, that they should make them known to their children, that the generation to come might know them, even the children that should be born, who should arise and tell them to their children, that they might set their hope in God, and not forget the works of God, but keep His commandments, and might not be as their fathers, a stubborn and rebellious generation, a generation that set not their heart aright, and whose spirit was not faithful to God. The children of Ephraim, being armed and carrying bows, turned back in the day of battle. They kept not the covenant of God, and refused to walk in His law. And they forgot His works, and His wondrous works that He had showed them. Marvelous things did He in the sight of their fathers, in the land of Egypt, in the field of Zoan. He clouded the sea and caused them to pass through, and He made the waters to stand as a heap. In the daytime also He led them with a cloud, and all the night with a light of fire. He closed rocks in the wilderness, and gave them drink abundantly as out of the depths. He brought streams also out of a rock, and caused waters to run down like rivers. But they sinned even more against Him by rebelling against the Most High in the wilderness. And they tested God in their heart by asking food according to their desire. And yes, they spoke against God. They said, can God prepare a table in the wilderness? Behold, He struck the rock so that waters gushed out and streams overflowed. Can He give bread also? Will He provide meat for His people? Therefore the Lord heard this and was furious, and a fire was kindled against Jacob, and anger also came up against Israel, because they did not believe in God and did not trust in His salvation. And yet He commanded the skies above, and opened the doors of heaven, and had rained down on the manna to eat, and given them the bread of heaven. Man did eat the bread of the mighty angels. He sent them food to the full. He caused the east wind to blow in the heavens, and by His power He guided the south wind. He rained meat also upon them as the dust, and feathered birds as the sand of the seas. And He let them fall in the midst of their camp, round about their dwellings. So they did eat, and were well filled, and He gave them their own desire. They were not deprived of their cravings, but while their food was still in their mouths, when the wrath of God went against them, and slew the fattest of them, and struck down the young men of Israel. In spite of this they sinned still, and did not believe in His wondrous works. Therefore He consumed their days in vanity, and their years in terror. When He slew them, then they sought Him. They returned and sought God earnestly, and they remembered that God was their rock, and the Most High God their Redeemer. And nevertheless they flattered Him with their mouth, and lied unto Him with their tongue, for their heart was not right with Him, neither were they faithful in His covenant. But He, being merciful, forgave their iniquity, and destroyed them not. Yes, many a time He turned His anger away, and did not stir up all His wrath. And He remembered that they were but flesh, a breath that passes away, and does not come again. How often did they rebel against Him in the wilderness, and grieve Him in the desert? And yes, again and again they tempted God, and provoked the Holy One of Israel. They remembered not His power, the day when He redeemed them from the enemy, how He set His signs in Egypt, and His wonders in the field of Zoan, and turned their rivers into blood, and their streams so that they could not drink. He sent among them swarms of flies which devoured them, and frogs which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar, and their labor to the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail, and their sycamore trees with frost. He gave over their cattle also to the hail, and their flocks to fiery lightning. He cast upon them the fierceness of His anger, wrath and indignation, and trouble, by sending among them angels of destruction. He made a path for His anger. He spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence, and destroyed all the firstborn in Egypt, the chief of their strength in the tents of Ham. But He led forth His own people like sheep, and guided them in the wilderness like a flock. And He led them safely, so that they feared not, but the sea overwhelmed their enemies.
and he brought them to his holy border, this mountain which his right hand had acquired. He drove out the nations also before them, and allotted them an inheritance by a surveyed measurement, and made the tribes of Israel to dwell in their tents. Yet they tested and rebelled against the Most High God, and did not keep his testimonies, but turned back and dealt treacherously like their fathers. They were turned aside like a deceitful bow, for they provoked him to anger with their high places, and moved him to jealousy with their graven images. When God heard this, he was furious, and greatly abhorred Israel, so that he forsook the tabernacle of Shiloh, the tent which he placed among men, and delivered his strength into captivity, and his glory into the hand of the enemy. He also gave his people over to the sword, and was furious with his inheritance. Fire devoured their young men, and their maidens were not given in marriage. Their priests fell by the sword, and their widows made no lamentation. Then the Lord awaked as one out of sleep, like a mighty man who shouts because of wine, and he beat back his enemy. He put them to a perpetual reproach. Moreover, he rejected the tent of Joseph, and chose not the tribe of Ephraim, but chose the tribe of Judah, the Mount Zion which he loved. And he built his sanctuary like the heights, like the earth which he hath established forever. He chose David also his servant, and took him from the sheepfolds. From following the eels that have their young, he brought him to be the shepherd of Jacob his people, and Israel his inheritance. So he was their shepherd according to the integrity of his heart.